Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about kind of this idea of expanding awareness. Up until this point, I've talked a lot about MBTI, which I love. I'm extremely passionate about. But I want to talk about some other stuff too. Just if we look at MBTI and kind of zoom out, what we're talking about essentially is levels of awareness. So within the MBTI framework, we have our ego. Those are the things that we know that we know. We have the subconscious, which is kind of things we are aware that we don't know quite as well. And then the unconscious or the shadow, which is kind of like even deeper. Lots of famous psychologists, psychiatrists, people in that field define layers of awareness, slice them and dice them in different ways. The deep unconscious of the psyche is what I'm most fascinated by. And kind of this idea of shadow work and becoming more aware. And the reason why it fascinates me is it can be used as a tool to drastically shift and improve your life. Well, like I've mentioned in other videos, one way that I've kind of started to dig into on this channel is the use of cognitive functions. I like this because it's a very concrete way to begin working with the shadow. Shadow functions within our unconscious are good, concrete ways to become aware of maybe areas where we struggle, maybe areas where we're not so aware. But there are other methods for this as well, such as dream work. Dreams are something that fascinate me. Anybody else? Also the concept of manifesting. And before you roll your eyes, yes, I think there's a lot of BS content out there around manifesting. I do think it's a real thing, but I think it's highly misunderstood and frankly abused by a lot of people trying to make money. There's belief work. There's also watching our language, observing how we react to the world, noticing things that trigger us. Not just interactions in the real world, but a really good place to work on this with yourself in a very safe way is to pay attention to how you react to television shows and movies. This is very safe because you're not an actual character in these. You're kind of more of an observer, and it's so useful to kind of dig into, like, when you have a strong reaction to a character, just be like, I wonder why that is. Also, Carl Jung digs into this, that he believes the deeper and deeper and deeper we go into our psyche, that we actually have access to this thing he calls the collective unconscious. This is fascinating to me because it implies that we have access to things deep, deep within our awareness that cannot be something that we could know from three-dimensional life in one body from one perspective. If you think it sounds woo-woo, just think about a newborn baby. And me as a mother of two, this fascinated me. Babies come out knowing how to eat. That doesn't mean it's always easy for the mother or the baby. There are things that can complicate the feeding process. But for the most part, babies come out with an instinct knowing how to eat. Where do they get that from? That's not anything that's taught to them, and people will give usually the answer instinct. Okay, well, where does instinct come from? It's not anything that can be taught. Like, here, baby, you're born now. Here's how you're gonna learn to eat. You put your mouth like this and you do. No. This, to me, proves that we have access in some form beyond our own personal experience. Another example of this, I don't know if you've heard of this, there are people whose like grandparents are war veterans, and maybe they fought in a really traumatic battle where something exploded or they were shot at. A lot of times their grandchildren and their children, their ancestors, will come in with trauma related to loud noises, for example. This fascinates me because, again, how could you have awareness to this information based on the models that we use today? You can't. It's not possible. There's some theories that it's physically passed through our DNA. Others think that it's something that's passed down like energetically. I don't know. These are the type of things that fascinate me. In addition to that, creative expression is another thing that fascinates me, and it is very much tied to the unconscious. It's expressing what's inside of us, and to me personally, I think it is vastly undervalued by our society at the current time. I think it's very important to set aside time to just play, and apart from the pressures of a capitalistic society. Now, I'm not like making any political statements based on this statement. I'm not trying to do that. All I'm saying is sometimes, based on the environment that we live in, I live in the United States, we take on this cultural norm of like, well, I have to be productive. So even my hobbies, I have to have something to show for it. That's just not true. There is value in your own expression and your own play even. Also, I work in a creative field. I earn a living through creative means, and there are a lot of nuances that come to that. It affects your creativity to have the pressure of supporting yourself on it. So I feel like I have a lot of unique perspectives to contribute to the creativity conversation. And I also believe that I have a lot of creative people watching me on this channel based on the comments and feedback you've already left for me. I also read a ton of books that I glean a lot of cool insights from that I would love to talk with you guys about on this channel. And just like so many other intuitives and other INFJs like myself, we collect all this information and then we draw lines between dots and we connect things in our minds and we come up with unique insights. And I want to share some of that on this channel as well. Now, I don't know for sure, but I suspect the people who are most likely to be drawn to this channel are people who are intuitives, specifically the intuitive dominant types, such as INFJ, INTJ for the introverted intuitives, and ENFP and ENTP for the extroverted intuitives. Of course, anybody is welcome. It's just a hunch that I have, and if you're watching this and you're interested in this type of content, leave me a comment and let me know if you know your MBTI type and what it is. So yeah, there's a lot to dive into in the way of awareness. I'm excited to talk about some of these things. I'm really motivated to pick back up this channel. I know I've been sporadic over the last several months. We've had a lot going on, as everyone has. It's been kind of a traumatic time and a hard time just to even exist in the world right now. So yes, I'll still be talking about MBTI, but I'm going to bring in some other things, and really the expansion of awareness is kind of the common theme, kind of mining out these treasures within ourselves. So I hope this resonates with you. I just wanted to give some direction for kind of where I'm headed, and if you see some different topics pop up, that's why. The common theme is kind of expanding our awareness, expanding consciousness. I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for all the comments that you've left, and thank you for being here. If you have any requests for videos, leave those for me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Test, test, test. Are we recording? I think we are. Is this too bright on my face, or are we good?